Ah, whoa, boy. Good morning, folks. Oh, man. It is almost late in the morning. Oh, I have slept so deeply. No nap yesterday. Real busy day, a great day. Ooh, no teeth, no teeth. Oh, she's got to put her teeth on everything, I swear to God. Oh, good morning, Lorraine. Come on up here. Oh, yeah. No teeth. No teeth. No teeth. Hey, okay. Off. Uh, Down. Get your bone. Get your bone. Hopefully she'll find her bone and lay down here for me. Oh, can't even quite see straight. It is so cold. And I turned the heat down last night. So I woke up shivering. Got the heat cranked up. Well, good morning. I'm probably a day late on this one. This is number 119. It's about all I can keep straight on this thing right now. My mind gets flooded with so many things that I want to tell you about and convey to you, and I want to do little shorts and get the messages out to you on different little things. But I'm just going to try to segment it all together, stitch it all up so you can get a good picture of what's going on right now. But I wanted to tell you, first of all, that what's going on right now is all according to schedule. Unfortunately, it's the evil guy's schedule. It's not the good guy's schedule that's going on right now. However, you got people like me who have paid attention and remember some things, and some things I forget. But we were told by a famous rocket scientist who developed developed NASA and everything for us. Wernher von Braun, I think was his name. Wernher von Braun was a rocket scientist with NASA. He developed rockets for space, rockets, well, for war. And he warned us a long time ago. And there was a guy I was going to visit down in Florida several years back, but I've been waylaid, and I don't know if he's still alive or not anymore. He was in a wheelchair. His last name began with C, and he was a single fellow that he wasn't doing too well. Oh boy, he was living on his own. Wondered where that thing went to. Well, snap cap on the floor there. Took off on my buddy when we opened up one of the actions the other day. On a 22. Anyway, Wernher von Braun warned us about the order of their bullshit they were going to pull on us. And he told us at the end that they were going to do the alien invasion. I'm telling you straight up. I really am. I'm not bullshitting you. This is what the guy said a long time ago when I was a little boy. He told us about their programs, their false flags, if you will. And he said, you'll know there was something about an alien invasion when they try to pull that on you and they try to unite the world on this alien invasion. And you know they're at the end of the rope. So they're at the end of their rope right now. So I guess that should be good news. So that's what they're trying to pull on you right now. They're trying to razz you up and get you worried about the aliens invading so that they can unite you under world communism, basically, is what they're going to try to do here. The psychological principle involved is that you unite a diverse people with a superordinate goal. So basically, you take people that do not get along together, don't like each other, and you give them something that they cannot accomplish independently, that they have to pull together and join together on in order to overcome, like a world war. You pull them together, you unite them in something that they cannot accomplish independently. And so that's the principle that's being applied here. Superordinate goal. I remember from my old practice of professional psychology test a long time ago. I got a high score on that, by the way. I mentioned that to one of the fellows that was helping me get on with my life a long time ago. He was pretty much the psychologist for Alaska at the time. And I think I got an 88 or something. I told him that I wanted a high enough score that it would, because different states had different requirements. Different jurisdictions, you had to get a certain level on the test. They had different passing grades. And I told him I wanted one that would stand in all the jurisdictions, and I got one. I got like an 88 or something like that. Whatever it was just below. It was just below an A, so to speak. It was just below really the upper range, and of course he let me know that he got the upper range. He got 2 more points than I did, or something like that. I don't remember, but it was an important thing to him at that point in time. And I wish I could remember his name. I don't think he'd be alive anymore. I would have been in my 30s at the time. Of course, it's hard to say I'm in my 70s, man. Okay, I slept really well. Didn't take a nap yesterday, and I also pumped iron. And we increased the weights. Increased the weight so much. When he put the one sling on my foot, I wasn't prepared. It about took off with my leg. It was, wow, man. I mean, it shocked me and it shocked him. I didn't know I just wasn't prepared for that much weight. And, well, I had to recover from that pretty quickly, or it was gonna throw me up in the air or something. Oh, so we increased the weights, which I haven't been able to do very often. Oh, it feels good, though. Oh, excuse me. So, they're pulling the alien space invasion on us, trying to unite the world right now. And they're going to unite it under world communism too, which we already have basically now. In case you're wondering, they've already won. They've taken us over from within. I mean, it is going to be so sneaky from here on out, so weird. Now think of this. When I was a little boy, I'm talking about worst years of my life. I'm talking about middle school, those awkward years where everybody else is growing up and you're older than everybody else and you're still small. You know, you're tiny. They all think you're younger just because you're a runt. You're growing late. You're a late bloomer. Oh, man, I hated that. I lost my train of thought. Folks, the bad guys have been planning this for so long. They've laid out their plans, and they don't have any reverse gear. They can't back their way out of this stuff. A bunch of jackasses anyway. I'd love to say they're stupid, but they aren't. They're actually wicked smart. Intelligence is one mark of them, that's for sure. Oh, we got to have a lot of petting this morning, I guess. Oh, yes. Oh, she got a new collar, and it's one that we can leave on all the time, more so than that damn training collar. That's a rough contraption, but she's so strong. She was pulling me on my face, pulling me right down on the asphalt. So I had to put that on her to get her to pull in a way that she gets some instant feedback. And this collar just barely fits her, but it's a 1-incher, which is what the trainer wanted. And I guess that's so that when I snap that leash, she gets a little bit more of a bite from it. I don't even know if she'll pay attention to it. I mean, she's that impervious to pain and that strong. Anyway, the inflation's pretty bad. What I was getting at is that we're going to see more secret police stuff going on. They're here. It's so big and so vast that you wouldn't believe it if you were told. I mean, if suddenly you were to able to lift up off the earth a little ways, Lorraine. If you were to get up above the earth a little ways so you could get a good view, and all of a sudden, let's just say you had X-ray vision, and you were shown all of the all of the cops, all of the narcs, all of the police state people, all the secret police, it would light up like you wouldn't believe. And what I was getting at was that when I was in grade school, and I remember getting some music lessons, and one of the fellows that gave me a ride told me how he traded his car in every 2 years. Didn't keep a car longer than 2 years. At that time, 1 out of every 7 of us was employed in the most important business on the face of the earth for us at that point. Most important business in the country. And that was the automobile industry. You know, transportation, fuel, manufacturing, sales. 1 out of every 7 of us worked in the automotive business at that time. That's about 1963 is what I'm thinking. Oh, 65. It's after Kennedy's assassination. You see, that's one thing about anybody of my age that we know is it's like the Kennedy assassination was probably like the crucifixion of Christ in some ways. I mean, you knew about the time before the cross, the time after the cross. It's before the Kennedy assassination, after the Kennedy assassination. And of course, by now you know that the same murderous people that whacked Kennedy took the whole country over. So they've got us, and they keep telling us, "Oh, you're a great American. How we're the land of the free and home of the brave." No, man, we don't know jack, and we're too afraid to ask too many questions. And Trump, you let us down when you failed to release the Kennedy records because it would take down the government. Who gives a damn about this government? Look, I want to go back to the old revolution. And don't get me wrong, you need to understand what a revolution is and what a revolution was. And the fallacy is that we had a bloody revolution like the French had. Look, the French Revolution was not at all like what we had going on over here. And what we had going on over here was kind of a rough thing, yes. But it wasn't a crazy, murderous rampage like happened in France. That's when the Jacobins took that place down, and they did the bloodbath and all that. I mean, the purge. When the communists take over, there's a murderous rage that goes on. Everybody that's got a murderous rage in them gets to express it then. All that pent-up, hostility, anger, all that comes out. And so they did a lot of murdering, a lot of weird stuff. The weirdest stuff probably was the stuff that Solzhenitsyn documented, which I didn't even read. I couldn't read that stuff. I've heard bits and pieces when his books came out, and my friends were reading it. That was during college. And I'll tell you, that the things he wrote about were absolutely atrocious. They killed people, and they didn't use guns. They actually used knives. Why? Because there was more blood. They wanted as much blood as possible. And the guards, supposedly, when they were killing off these people in the big concentration camps, the real concentration camps, the gulags in Soviet Russia, the guards were having orgies, having sex while killing these people. It was a really bizarre thing. That's what Solzhenitsyn wrote about. He also wrote a book called 200 Years Together. He wrote a book about living with those bastards for 200 years and what the culmination of 2 centuries was when they just took them over and they murdered like a minimum of 66 million. Not 6 million. A minimum of 66 million. That's what's recorded. But the actual number was probably 100 million. And in the last century, they probably killed off 200 million of us. Oh, I had a good joke with my personal trainer the other day, by the way. And I walked in and told him, man, I felt so much more secure. because the FBI had identified the white supremacist. Finally, they put the finger on the white supremacists. We got them, boys. We understand who they are. My buddy's asking me, I didn't start it like that with him, but are you joking? Are you kidding? Well, I was joking. That's true. And I was telling the truth, too. I was dead serious and joking at the same time. You see, folks, that's just a little example of when you have two things that seem contradictory that you have to hold equally valid at the same time in order to be able to sort things out. And to sort their puzzles out, you've got to have flexibility of mind. You've got to be able to enlarge your ability. You've got to take two seemingly contradictory concepts and hold them equally valid, gingerly in your mind at the same time. It was one of the best lessons I ever got from Dr. Lewis Masser, who trained me up, was the last supervisor I had as an intern. It was marvelous because he's a brilliant man. He really put the finishing touches on me. I'd already had two other psychologists over me in internships, and I don't know. We didn't get along too good at the start. I didn't think I was going to make it. As a matter of fact, I was so worried that I decided that when an office opened up next door to his office, I had a little office in the middle there that had not a single window in it. It was like a damn big closet in the middle of the clinic. Painted blue. The brick inside there was painted blue. Kind of a baby blue. And when offices became available as other, as therapists came and went, left, quit, retired, a lot of women there in Mississippi would go home or have children, take care of their kids, kind of come and go in the profession, which is the way it ought to be, There's nothing more important than rearing children. That's the most important job in the world. You ladies got the most important job in the world. That's what I tell women as much as I can, because it is the most important job. And we have to remind them of that, and we have to heap accolades upon them. Look, folks, at least heap that on them. At least reward them that. Laud it on them. And not only will they eat it up, they might stay in their place. Yeah, babes, you got it. You heard it right. I said it. Look, nobody outranks mom. Do you understand that? I mean, I don't give a damn how old you are. You will never outrank mom. Mom will always be your mother. That's all there is to it. Man, I remember when my sister decided she was going to call our parents by their first name and become friends. It was vile to me to hear her calling our parents by our first names. I'm sorry, there's a relationship there, and you can't make it more personal, and you can't, it was like she was undermining the authority when she was doing that, but she was running the family. Not my mother, not my father, but my little sister, my younger sister, from her position as middle child. She wreaked havoc over all of us. And my parents couldn't seem to understand the damn structure of what was going on. Dad was mesmerized by her. She had him wrapped around her little finger. There's no greater stimulus program than having children. If you want to stimulate an economy, when a woman has children, everything changes. You bring that mouth, that life, that mouth to feed into existence. And I don't think anything is a greater motivator, especially when you have diverse species like male and female. I mean, I remember in college, one of my buddies thought females were a subspecies. He had some quirks about him and some problems about him. He's a little light in the feathers, if you know what I mean. There's a good friend, but man, keep your damn gayness to yourself. Get the hell away from me. He regarded females as a subspecies. He had another friend who had other problems with women, and he had a pretty twisted view. I don't even think I want to share that with you, but his ideas led to him treating a friend, female friend, very poorly. And I've always worried and wondered whatever happened to Robin. Yeah, I was worried about her. I really liked her. I was really attracted to her, but she had to go after the taller guy with the long blonde hair. Shit, I mean, I didn't have blonde hair and I wasn't that tall. And he didn't treat her too good. He took advantage of her. Anyway, it's a whole another subject. I don't want to get into it. The important thing you need to know is that you've been united in several world wars, a superordinate goal. And now they're going to unite you in the world's war against the alien invasion. I can't believe they're going to pull that one, but they are. They are. They're pretty desperate. And it's been in the game plan for so long that Werner von Braun warned us about this 50 years ago or so. So, your balloons are what I would call a little bit of an inflated problem, huh? Yeah. This inflation may just get popped on us and we may go through deflation. If I was going to take down this country and this people, if I was going to take over the world, I'd be doing that. I'd ramp up the hell out of the inflation, and then I'd prick that damn balloon, and I'd go for deflation. I'd keep these people off their feet. I'd make so much chaos, they wouldn't know up from down. They would be, oh my God, it'd be hell on earth. That's what they're going to do. That's what they're doing to us. And I've never really liked the germ theory very much. It just doesn't make much sense. And as I get older now, I realize that the theory that I ascribe to is the theory of poisons and toxins. I don't think that we've been getting sick. I think we've been getting poisoned. I think the evil son of a bitches that live among us, the evil bastards, the evil one and his children, have been poisoning us for centuries. Lorraine. Yeah. They've been poisoning our water supply, poisoning our food, poisoning us every which they can, especially in their food production. This manufacturing that they do, the food processing, they add shit to it then. They add shit that causes autism, causes mental disorders, causes bipolar disorders, causes some of the weirdest shit, and you can't track it down. You can't trace it down. You can't catch them. You can't stop them. Most of your bipolar disorders and your autism are caused by food spiking with manganese. Not magnesium, manganese. It is a heavy metal. These people major in putting heavy metals in your food supply. They even put traces of horrible metals in the pots and pans. And that gets into you that way too. Yeah. And then they've actually figured out how to put metals into glassware. It used to be that if you had cooked with glassware, you were totally safe. But now they figured out how to put metals into the glass too. So they know how to do all that stuff. It is wicked wizardry, just incredible. And the guys that are in control of things behind the scenes, and the gals, the women are more deadly than the men. Remember that. And in case you're wondering, there's a fellow who's been researching for years, has been reading for a long time. He speaks with a heavy Irish brogue, and he gives me many cues. He's really read quite a bit, but he's been off in the weeds so much that he doesn't get the big picture that well. And that's kind of sad. But he said that there is a group of women behind the scenes, behind all these powers. It is a cult, and their specialty is poisons. And it, kings and queens or people that wanted to become leaders would turn to this cult, pay them their fees, pay them homage, and walk off with the ability to poison their enemies. I think they've been poisoning us on the planet at large. I think that's what we've been suffering from rather than some diseases. And a dead giveaway to me is the polio stuff. polio went away. Yeah. Yeah, it went away. If you diagnose polio today, they're going to yank your license. You're not allowed to diagnose it. So even if it was in front of you and you recognize it for what it was, you better not call it polio. They will pull your license. You have to give it one of the modern names. You see, polio didn't go away. They just changed the name of the diagnosis. And they've morphed it into about 3 different diseases. It never went away, folks. They just changed the name to hide it. You need to understand, the people that are controlling this thing are controlling it from the top down. They're controlling every discipline. That's why you see the medical jackasses practicing the way they do, scrambling the way they do, trying to cover their asses. Oh, my brother gets a blood clot in his lung. It's called a pulmonary embolism. And so I figured I better ask him. This is the lesson. I'm trying to get it across. I have a little bit of responsibility as older brother, but he's going to be a little asshole about it. And he's not going to listen. And what did the doctor say caused your blood clot in your lung? Old age. Really? Really? You haven't heard of anything else causing blood clots, you dumbass? You don't attribute it to any medical intervention you might have had recently? Any medical treatment you might have availed yourself of? Anything you might have volunteered for? Because your stupid ass is going to listen to your older brother? And you're going to let them experiment on you because you're big and brave and you're going to save the world? Oh, you dumbass. You took it, didn't you? Yeah, every bit of it. Hook, line, sinker. I mean, you took them both. And then you probably went after that other shit, too. You probably did everything else they told you to do. Dumbass. It's a blood clot. It's a pulmonary embolism. What else in the news has been causing pulmonary embolisms? They've gone up more than 400% since they did that massive experiment on everybody. Anyway, I can't get off in the weeds. I don't want to get another strike. That's as far as I'm going. I'm not saying anything else. If he can't figure it out and you can't figure it out, well, then you're all just dumbasses. That's all there is to it. Yeah, they're brainwashing, they're news, media, and they got Hollywood too, so they write that bullshit into those fictional scripts. Actually, the interesting thing is that there's actually more real news in those movies than there is in the newspapers. And I want you to know something. There's nothing new under the sun. That's the way it was back in Shakespeare's days. Why do you think Shakespearean plays were so popular? Because of the vast improved vocabulary people got from going to the plays? No. It's because of the titillating little laughter that they got, the jokes that they got about the royal court, about the royal family, about what was going on behind closed doors in the Queen's palace. Yeah, he put the little tidbits in the plays back then, and there was more news in the plays than there was on the streets, in the newspapers. It's the same way today with Hollywood. The only thing is that they didn't have the CIA controlling it back then. Yeah, your CIA controls Hollywood. The Creative Artists Association is a CIA-run entity. They control the whole thing. They get those scripts and they write in those little twists and details, those lies that they want you to believe so you can't bust out of them, so you won't challenge, the prison they've given you, the psychological prison, the straitjacket they put on your ass, the bars they put you behind so you can't see beyond the box. Folks, you got to think beyond the box. You got to challenge all assumptions, especially the assumptions you're going to make on the other poor asshole out there. You got to understand that by thinking you know better and insisting on certain things, it's no better than the Planet of the Apes. You ever watch that movie? I loved that movie when I was growing up. you realize that that fellow figured out that they had had a nuclear war. He went off in space and came back in the future. And that's what the planet was because of the nuclear war that had occurred while he was in deep sleep traveling in space before they woke his ass back up when he come back in and re-entered centuries later. You ever watched the movie Dune? Or read the books? How the whole earth is one giant desert and you got these sandworms, these creatures that go on rampages and come out of the sand, really big beasts, and it turns out that they're all there trying to protect Mother Earth and from the intrusion of man because of some sort of I think it had to do with global warming even, man. It might have had to do with digging oil or something. But the interesting thing about that is that that's what this earth is going to look like if you go to all green energy. It's going to be nothing but a wasteland and a desert. Why? Because they're going to have to mine the entire surface of the earth in order to come up with the material for the batteries, for their stupid ass green energy. Yeah. I like that part of the movies where they tell you what the potential future is if things go a certain way or another. They do that somewhat indirectly in some of these. Sometimes they do it pretty directly. I don't go to the movies anymore because I got tired of being manipulated, and it really is offensive once you realize that they're lying to you and manipulating you. You just don't want to you want to subject yourself to that anymore. So I don't keep up with the movies and the culture, the music or anything. And I remember when I was a little boy, young budding teenager, and my grandparents were older, my parents were older, got married older in life, and they didn't keep up with the music, and I thought they just aren't with it. I'm not with it anymore, folks. It's not important to me anymore. It stopped being important. And of course, people will talk about things and allude to things that I'm not aware of. And of course, I like being a little bit de-stressed. I don't like being yanked around like they do to us all the time. They lead us around and they trash us psychologically. You ever hear of how they break a mind? How they break the temper of your mind? It's very much like breaking the temper of steel. They will take that piece of steel and they will push it in one direction. And then they will change and they will push it in the other direction. And they will slowly, over time, apply pressure in one direction and then come at you with the opposite direction. That's what they do in the news all the time. That's what they do because it helps keep you paralyzed. It's called learned helplessness. It was developed by a psychologist out of Pennsylvania, Martin Seligman. He's still alive today. He's the father of learned helplessness, and he did some other experiments, some horrible experiments. Well, actually, they were quite good, and they contributed to the body of scientific knowledge. But they had to do other experiments that wouldn't pass the muster. They wouldn't pass the institutional review boards, the IRBs. They weren't ethical. They weren't legal. And they went ahead and did these off the books, so to speak, just like the money they've made, it's off the books. So they've developed these psychological principles for the purposes of paralyzing you in place. Part of it's to divide you and to conquer you, to keep you at each other's throats. The other part of it is to paralyze you so you won't be able to take action. Let me tell you about an action plan. If you're paralyzed and you can't get shit done, come up with an action plan and follow through on it. Even if you're wrong, you'll learn from your action plan and correct yourself and do the right thing. Figure out what the right thing is and do it, what's going to be effective. So action is important. Get yourself out of the doldrums. Get yourself out of being stuck, okay? Get some forward motion. Even if it's in the wrong direction, you'll learn from it in short order and you will go in the right direction. But they want to keep your ass paralyzed. So you can't think straight and you don't have good judgment. You know that word discrimination? that they've made a bad word. You can't discriminate. Look, you want to be able to make ever finer levels of discrimination in your thinking. You want to be able to split hairs. You want to be able to make real fine discriminations in judgment, in thought, and in choice, so you can choose the best action for you, the one that's going to result in a blessing rather than a curse, the one that you're going to get a reward for rather than be punished. That's in the Bible. There's blessings for obedience in Deuteronomy and Leviticus. It's in there twice. A double witness in the Bible. These are the blessings for abiding by the Ten Commandments. Read those things. It's real short. The blessings are short. And then you got another section next to it. The curses, the punishment for disobedience is twice as long. And when you read that, you will go, my God, this is America today. This is where America is. What does that mean? I mean, if you're reading about the curses that a nation, a people suffer for violating natural law, God's law, those 10 commandments, yeah, folks, it means you're Israelites. It means your ancestors were at Mount Sinai. It means you agreed to the deal. You were sworn into the contract to abide by those 10 commandments. And today, as a population that has forgotten your roots, that doesn't know who you are, you're suffering all of those curses. Why? Why? Well, it is written in the Bible, and it is only the natural result of violating God's law, Yahweh's law, violating natural law. What do you expect? You're going to do something and expect a different outcome? My buddy got sick. I've been fighting off this little bit of a cold, if you will, but I don't really abide by the germ theory very much. There's some other factors at play here, and they keep us dumb and ignorant, and that includes the psychologists too, by the way. They got us controlled and cajoled. They got us thinking that we know it all. They got us thinking that some of those lies that they fed us, are the truth, especially this diversity stuff. I mean, that's why I tell you to stay away from me and my kind, because we'll try to get you to think in diverse ways, but we'll try to get you to accept perverted stuff as natural and normal to cause as much confusion as possible on your ass. That's what they do today. And if you walk into the office and do any therapy any length of time, they're going to create a chart on you. And there is no confidentiality, folks. There isn't any. Don't expect that your records are going to stay private, and don't expect that what's in your records is any good. Why? They have to write bad stuff about you. Why do they write bad stuff? To justify their treatment. You need treatment. So we're going to give you this problem. We're going to give you this bad name. We're going to call you bad names. We're going to call you, this is your diagnosis. It is lifetime. It is cast in concrete overshoes. It's cast in stone. You can't change it. You never change. You won't grow up. You won't grow out of it. You'll never develop through it. It's a negative projective process. And it's really rude to do that to the other son of a bitch. Especially when most of those dumbasses don't know they're projecting their own shit on the other poor unsuspecting son of a bitch. They're taking their own crap, their own foibles, their own inner demons, and projecting them upon this innocent person in front of them that turns to them because they got the knowledge and they're going to help them. Oh, God. Lately, when people are doing some service on the phone, ask me, is there anything else I can do for you? My answer is, yeah. Could you put $19,000 in my bank account? Oh, hold on. That used to be the price of a sailboat. I always wanted one of those. It's got to be more than that now, though. So my joke is, yeah, put that in there. Well, the thing is, when you go to these professionals, they take advantage of you. That's what That's what their profession is. They profess to do stuff, and the professions are turned against the laity. It comes from my buddy. We called him Andy, Edwin Kroger, and he cited Abraham Lincoln. He told me when I wrote my book, start the chapter with that. And that was what was going on at that time. So, what profession was Abraham Lincoln? Goddamn attorney. And he was turned against the laity. He was predating on the people, and he knew it. They didn't call him Honest Abe for no reason at all. It was like Tiny Thompson. Tiny Thompson was called Tiny because he's a big man, the mountain of a man. The guy was Viking, wow man, almost giant quality. He was a big dude, and his nickname was Tiny. Tiny, oh my God, I think Tiny was 4 times my size. Tiny was a big man. And the thing is, Abraham Lincoln wasn't honest. He was so dishonest, he destroyed the republic. He took away your Jeffersonian republic and he gave you a Lincolnian republic. He gave you a basic dictatorship. He screwed the republic up. Him and his radical Republicans destroyed the republic. When your Democrat Party is full of demons at this point, man, they're about to go extinct. This FTX thing has got them. They're demanding they return the monies. And they have to do that because there's a bankruptcy involved. And they have to go after that. And it's going to be amazing because those politicians that took all those millions of dollars that won their elections unfairly because of the advantage of those monies. And by the way, that includes Lisa Murkowski in Alaska. She got herself reelected. Man, they pulled off some really shrewd stuff. They changed the primary system. They beat me on it. They got me voting for this new system. It looked really good on paper. They fooled me just like everybody else, and we voted for this new system. And I should have realized what it was because they pulled the same bullshit in the American Psychological Association, ranked voting for president. At that point, I didn't care who was president there. It didn't amount to anything because they always had some big liberal enterprise that they were boasting and boosting. It's horrible what that profession has become. It is absolutely horrible. Psychologists have become nothing more than mini psychiatrists. They believe in the medications. They believe in the disease theory. And the thing is that your diagnostic stuff it's not relying on lab work, although it should, because most people are suffering from a physical malady. But most psychologists, they'll refer you to a medical jackass who will rule out medical causes of depression, and the medical doctor will say, well, I know more than he does. I'm going to prescribe antidepressants. They don't even check in to see whether or not they're really necessary. They need to be just administered in short order or what. It used to be, it was a trial period of antidepressant medications recommended. Not less than 6 months, not more than a year. Those were the old guidelines. And it was cookie cutting practice. In other words, that's the results we gave them all the time, and we sent them right to the head honcho, right to the psychiatrist, right to the biggest witch doctor of all. And they would write medications for them, which would inevitably screw them up even more. And the medicines were addictive, there were withdrawal effects. I don't really want to get into that. I'm not that happy with my profession. I entered into the fray, and one was preaching ADHD and how we tested for it. We did a really incredible dance, a mesmerizing dance. We had ourselves, everybody fooled. We had ourselves fooled. Always had the same conclusion. Recommending a trial period, not less than 6 months, because you couldn't make much progress in that, and there's no sense of subjecting the child to that much poison for just a little while, just a little bit of torture. We had to make it a little bit normal, so it was weird. And then not more than a year because we didn't want them addicted on the stuff. And some of the stuff was deadly, so when the new class of medicines came out, well, we went to those because they were less addictive, less deadly. You couldn't overdose on them. The problem was that the shotgun approach, it became more global disabling, which resulted in chemical imbalances. It did not fix chemical imbalances. It caused chemical imbalances. I was so pissed off when I figured that out. So, the theory is that you got a chemical imbalance and we're going to fix it. Bullshit. We're going to give you a chemical imbalance and you're going to be on this shit for the rest of your life because you're not going to be able to function without it because we're going to destroy your serotonergic system. We're going to screw that up and you're not going to be able to attach normally to another human being. You're not going to be able to be capable of love. See, that's part of the problem. We chop off the lows so you won't be so damn depressed, and we chop off the highs so you won't be so happy. But the real problem is that we're going to make sure you can't bond with another human being, and you don't have any more, I don't want to say apathy, it's the opposite word, but you just don't have any more sympathy. You don't connect to other people. I watched it happen. I watched it happen in professional practice. I did my best to get in the way of that stuff. Watched it happen in my family. Dumbasses said I couldn't know anything. I was able to do a little bit of good, but when it come to really taking care of things, they would not listen to me. Probably a lot like you're not listening to me either. Are you really getting the message? I'm giving you enough information. I know it's a lot of noise, and you have to separate the signal from the noise, but it's there. And when you go and you hang out with like-minded believers, it's there. The spirit is there. You really will help each other by talking. But forget about the social media. They want you as detached as possible. That's why they're interfering. It's all psychological warfare. What, Fascist Book put me to the bottom of the feed for the next 90 days because I kept posting stuff that their fact checkers said wasn't true? I wonder if Zuckerberg's really a damn robot. I've watched those videos and stuff. The dude's weird. The dude is weird. I wish somebody would stand off and take a 50 caliber and put it, well, maybe something smaller than that, but, take some anti-material sort of round and put it into him. If he dies, he dies. If the machinery comes apart, well, the robot comes apart. No, I am so fed up with this bullshit that's going on. And in case you're wondering, when the communists take over, they take over all communications. So all of your news media has been captured for a long time. All of your institutions of higher learning have been captured for a long time. Your government's been captured for a long time. And your churches have been captured for an even longer time. I'm so glad the FBI identified the white supremacists. My God, am I so relieved. I was afraid I'd have been it. Look, the fact is that the boys that attend high mass, Latin mass, are the white supremacists, according to the FBI. And I'm going to trust their judgment, their professional judgment. And so in my manner of processing things and in flexible thinking, I'm going to ask myself, how is this true? How is what the Federal Bureau of Investigation is telling me that those people who have a propensity to attend a mass in Latin are supremacists? How is that true? How could that be true? I mentioned it to a teacher, and he says, well, if you understood what the high mass was, you would understand how evil it is. That's why? He says, because they bring Jesus down, for each one of those, bring Christ down and they crucify him again in the Mass. I'm like thinking, how garish. Is that what they really do? I mean, is that what that's really about in that foreign, distant dead language? I wish I had studied Latin, but the Jews wouldn't allow me to study Latin. That's right. I'm just telling you truthfully. The most depressing time of my life was living in that little community when they treated me worse than anybody else treated me. I thought blacks treated me badly when I was a little boy, when they were the majority. Nothing compared to how the Jews treated me when they were the majority. They treated me worse than the blacks did. And I don't know why, one black little girl wanted to fight with me at school in third grade. Third grade. I don't know what it was, if it was just the fact that she could intimidate me or she was trying to show off and get points with other people, or I don't know what that was about. I remember to this day, she didn't like me. And there was no reason for it. No rhyme, no reason. I couldn't figure it out. I want to fight the girl. I wasn't allowed to do that, supposedly. She wanted to fight me. I was small, smaller than most. I don't know. I remember Butzbach, Germany. I remember chasing after mice and capturing them, catching bees, getting stung. I remember going out to the farmer's land and hanging out in the cabin over there. I remember climbing in this big tree that we climbed up, and one of my buddies, I hadn't talked to him in, I don't know, well, it wasn't 70 years, it was probably 60 years or 50 years or something. He told me he went back there. He says, "You remember that tree that we used to climb?" He says, "It's a little tiny tree." Well, we were small and we weren't breaking its branches. Well, not very much, and we would get up there. But I remember playing in the sandbox. And he was a little younger than I was. And he liked to play with tanks. He had a toy howitzer. He could name every part on that thing. And when he grew up, he wanted to be, I think he wanted to be an army officer. He wanted to be a tank commander. No, I don't remember exactly which MOS, what he really wanted to do. I have to think about it. But David knew what he wanted to be, and he's like 3 years younger than I was back then. And I guess I made an impression on him because he remembered me. I guess I was the older boy at the time. But anyway, he did make quite a bit of himself. He went on to become a platoon commander for a platoon of Rangers, a captain of a Ranger platoon. My God, what a warrior. He's told me about some of his campaigns. I try not to listen to that stuff. I don't want to hear it because a lot of those wars that we fought that you and I don't know about. It's his job. I don't require a man, certainly not in that position, to tell me about his job. But I've run into a lot of guys that have told me about their jobs over the years, and I'll tell you this, never judge a book by its cover. Some of those guys, those trained killers that have killed many times, they're the nicest guys you've ever met in your life. They are what I would call sweethearts. I mean, they are happy-go-lucky guys, and you would never, ever think that guy was that kind of a warrior, had done all of that stuff for this country. You would never realize what sacrifices, what stuff they've been through. I mean, my God, it makes you want to cry. Seriously, the stuff that they do. I mean, the guys that we train up, we pump a lot of money into them. We spend a lot of money on their training. But can you imagine jumping out at high altitude, rushing through the air, helmet on, oxygen on, you're so high up? And imagine this, you got a little Malwar strapped around your midline. He's parachuting down with you, and he's got an oxygen mask on him too. You're that high up, and the dog is just there with you, and you're free falling down. And then when the time comes, it's been timed. You pull that chute, and you got to go in quietly in the dark of the night. Man, you talk about balls. You talk about courage. Imagine jumping out of a perfectly good airplane in the dark of the night and having everything timed up. And then you've got to pop a chute down at low altitude so you won't get spotted and you'll be right on course. So you're blasting through the air, what, at 110 miles an hour? Yeah, you're falling at terminal velocity with a dog attached to you, strapped up to you. You both got oxygen masks on. Then you got to pull that chute about 2,000 feet above the ground. And it's got to catch you. And you've got to guide that thing in to the landing zone so that you're going to be safe. And then the guys that go through Quigley, the Marines. Whew. Man, I heard stories about that from the drill sergeant. What a noble man he was. He said there was nothing that made him more proud than when he graduated the cadet into a Marine. That was what he lived for. He trained up Marines. He told me about Quigley. They got to go underwater, to a pipe, on their backs, and it's long enough so that they figure you're out of oxygen before you get to the end of this damn thing. And so you're swimming, holding your breath, and they know you are not going to have enough oxygen. And they do this psychologically. And they want you to realize that you're going to live. You think you're going to die. That's the purpose of Quigley. That's the purpose of that part of their training. You think you're going to die, but you make it. And they want you to realize, and I mean, they really do build warriors. I've seen some that broke down too. That the training was just too much and they come apart. I mean, they are wicked hard on those boys, those young men. They're boys. And when you see one that's been broken up in camp, like I saw one time, it's like, oh my God. I mean, that young man has been fragmented. They're never going to be put back together again. That happens. That's a result of training quite often. And we lose probably as many men in training as we do out in the operations. Of course, I have no idea how many battles are being fought around the planet right now. I don't know where our boys are at. And they're putting the girls in there too, which I don't like at all. I don't give a damn. So they can have the glory of battle. What the hell you want to put women in there for? Women are the givers of life. They're not supposed to be taking life. Not only that, there's nothing more vicious or pissed off than a mama bear defending her cubs. Women are capable of so much more rage and violence than men are, and it ain't funny. They got about 16 times the nerve strength of a man, all given to them for the purposes of motherhood. And of course, you ladies out there, you'll use those things to womanly ends and manipulate with stuff. And I mean, you drive yourself nuts is what ends up happening. That's instant karma for you. So you need to understand you've been given this extra capacity. Woman, more than a man, 2 more letters than man. You've been given this extra capacity for the strict purposes of motherhood, continuing the species, the most important job in the world. And you're going to demean that? Sorry. You'll never outrank mom, even as a daughter. God, when mothers and daughters argue and buck heads. Woo, baby. I need you to understand, they're going to try to unite the people of the world after they've been doing their best to fragment us. And they have fragmented Americans on purpose. They've been running psychological operations since 1913. Actually longer than that. But 1913 is when they focused in particular to go after this country. And the reason for the Great Depression is because they couldn't, one of the reasons that we went through it is they could not unite us. They'd fragmented us up too much. And by then, they figured, and the bankers did this to us, they figured they had divided us so much we would never, ever join together again. That's what they do to keep you paralyzed so that little minority can run havoc over you, can wreak havoc on you, and can run your ass on the ground, can dominate you, can enslave you. And remember this, when the United Nations unites forces to go to battle, they are united underneath a Russian general. That's the way it's always been. Isn't that kind of weird? Of course, when I look at the general running this country, I'll take the Russian over this Chi-Com General Milley. It's because of, don't blame Joe Biden for the fact this balloon got all the way across the nation and got all of its data done, got all of its mission done. Don't blame Joe Biden for that. He ordered Mark Milley, I think is his name, General Milley, he ordered him to shoot that thing down. Milley says, no, sir, we're not going to do that. No, we're not going to do that. Isn't it kind of funny how the general is ordering the president, how the general refuses a direct order from the president? Is it supposed to be that way? By the way, that guy has said that if we were to launch an attack against the Chinese, he would call them up and let them know in advance. That's quite a general you got there. Talk about treason in high places. Talk about traitors. I don't trust him at all. Barack Obama set this stuff up. He got rid of all the patriotic officers he could. So what you're left with are the dregs. Barack Obama was not an American citizen. He's still not an American citizen. You make me president, I'll get that illegal alien's ass out of here. Actually, I don't want him going anywhere. I want him tried for his crimes, his treason. Yes, I do. He sits out there on Martha's Vineyard on, I guess, 14 acres in what looks like a palace. Beautiful estate. And he put in a generator to power everything, a big generator. And he put in the biggest natural gas tank you can buy. It was so big he had to get special permissions, special licenses to get it. Why did Barack Obama put that in place? Is it because he plans upon running his generator for an inordinately long period of time? What might Barry Soetoro, Barack Obama, what might he know that you and I don't know? Might he not be privy to the inside knowledge of what's coming, what's planned? And if I knew there was going to be an EMP attack, I'd be shielding everything I could. I'd be putting in a generator and shielding that. I'd be putting in a power source. I'd be putting in some sort of a power supply. Propane would do it. Yeah. Big, huge tank like you see in the propane station. He's got one of those big, huge tanks, folks. He plans on running that generator for a while. He knows something that you and I don't know. And that's basically that they are going to do this EMP on us. And do not blame the Chi-Coms for it. The Chi-Coms aren't going to do it. They're just going to be the excuse. You see, they always have a patsy. They kill their own presidents and set up a patsy. Oswald was a hero. He had saved Kennedy's life on November 4th when they were going to whack Kennedy in Chicago. It was Kennedy, deep undercover, off the books, who called that in and saved Kennedy from being assassinated on November 4th in Chicago. Of course, they framed him up as the patsy. They figured out who he was and framed his ass up. And Oswald was a very intelligent man and very patriotic. And he actually told you that he was I'm just the patsy. He told you that. It was some of his last words. He knew he had to get that out there. He knew they were going to kill him. He knew he was a dead man. And who killed him? One of his best friends, Rubenstein. You know, Jack Ruby? Rubenstein is his real last name. And Jack Ruby, unfortunately, was the recipient of their cancer weapon at the time. They had given him cancer, and he only had weeks to live, and they basically made him the deal. You either kill him, or and we take care of your family, or you're going to die anyway, and we're going to kill your family off too. That's the deal they've been making in the background. They did the same thing to the gentleman who ran the labs that certified cell phones as being safe. Cell phones aren't safe, boys and girls. They aren't safe at all. They never have been safe. They never will be safe. They're a little bit safer today, but the earlier ones were causing brain tumors, brain cancers. And they knew that was going to happen. They knew that thing was going to cook that side of your brain. They knew it was going to result in brain tumors. The evil ones took the program to the owner of the lab and told him, we want you to run this experiment. And they already knew the outcome. And this fellow knew what they were up to. He also knew what the deal was. Either he ran the experiment the way they directed him to run it, so it would come out with the results that they wanted, which was that cell phones are safe, or they killed him and they killed his family too. They don't just go after the man, they go after the whole family. They eradicate everybody in that line. We're ruled by murderers and thieves. They've killed people who invented great things that were going to save energy. My God, Stanley. They killed him. He figured out how to make a car run on water. Not only that, he figured out how to rework all of the existing engines so you can run them on water. And they poisoned him. They took him to dinner and poisoned him. A couple of boys from the FBI. It's like Tesla. Who were the last people to see Tesla alive, or who were seen with Tesla alive? 2 CIA operatives. One was nicknamed Ice Pick. Why do you think they called him Ice Pick? Because he liked killing with an ice pick. George Bush and another operative escorted Tesla away to his demise. I've gone over time, folks. I apologize for that. I hope you got something out of this. There's a lot of things that I failed to mention in these things that I really wanted to tell you about. I got to listen more to my videos, but I just haven't had time. I've been getting stuff done for myself. If you'd like to support me in the channel, of course, hit that like button. If you stayed this long, Yahweh bless you. You must have gotten something out of it. Share this video with other people. Leave a comment. I don't get many comments. About half the comments I get are, take a dirt nap, Dr. Kent. Yeah, I get that. That's the kind of attention that we get. You need to understand that these evil guys really have got a massive spy network. They've been on the planet for a long, long time. This is the culmination of the fight between good and evil, which is what's in the Bible, which is why the Bible is so revealing. It tells you their game plan. Tells you the game they're trying to run on you in advance. They try to mimic that book as much as they can, as if it was a license for them to do that stuff. So they will bring pestilence, famine, and war, the sword, on you, just like it says in the Bible, all the time. Oh my God, there was something what I wanted to tell you. Yeah. Greetings, land of bitter waters. America is in the Bible. In the major prophet, in Isaiah, in the prophets, they talk about the land of bitter waters. That is what they're doing to you. That's what they've done to you. That's what they're going to continue to do to you. This stuff is not by accident. They're poisoning you on purpose. They want to destroy watersheds. They want to poison up the water so that you can't grow crops, you can't eat, you can't drink water, you can't get it. They're waging an unlimited war. It is psychological to a very large extent in nature. However, it is also physical, and they really love poisons and toxins. Why do you think all those accidents are happening in the railroads all at the same time? Why do you think the news isn't covering the fact that they're releasing phosgene, marsh gas, poisonous gas, and they're putting that into the water supply, and that's going to go downriver and contaminate stuff. How many states did they take out with one spill? How many people did they take out with one spill? You are the land of bitter waters that was written about in the Bible by Isaiah. What does Isaiah mean by that? Two levels as I see it. One is the emotions are going to be bitter because life is bitter because of what they put us through, what they do to us. That's right. That's what's going on because you turned your back on Yahweh. You won't read your Bible. You will not follow Yahweh. You won't become a friend of Yahweh, Creator, Father God. And so he's striking against you. He will take this country out completely. It's Yahweh's option to do that. As a matter of fact, we've earned that at this point. We have become Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0. We're also the land of bitter waters because they put this horrible poison in our water that's not legal to do in any other developed nation in the world, but they get to poison us. Knocks our IQs down by a full 11 IQ points. Imagine that. Instead of operating on 100, you're operating on 89. Talk about downregulating a people. Talk about capturing them. Talk about poisoning them. Talk about hobbling them. That's done more to undermine this country than anything else, probably. It also is the cause of cancer. It also is the cause of heart disease. I'm not supposed to talk about that according to my fellow professionals because they can't talk about it. Well, I don't have a license to defend. So your water fluoridation causes you damn heart disease. And then, on top of that, they put everything else possible. Now they're doing the chemistry in the water. Yeah, folks, this is all planned, and they're going to work it out very methodically. And they'll shoot your transformers to take out your electricity in pockets as they want. They brought in the enemy in here every time they could, especially after the Iraq War, the Gulf War, the first Gulf War. They brought in 5,000 Iraqi Republican Guard, crack troops. I met some of them. They consider themselves jihadists waiting to be activated. Could take years. And then they brought another 5,000 Republican Guard in. And at the end of the Vietnam War, they brought in Viet Cong. They brought in regulars from the North Vietnamese Army, and they settled those up and down the Mississippi River. They do that because they're getting ready to take you down. They've been bringing in uncompatibles. You better turn to Yahweh. And that doesn't mean going to church. Just open your Bible and read it. Okay, folks, I'm way over time. Yahweh bless. May you bless Yahweh. May America become good again. Make America good again. You got your own little corner you're in charge of. Make it as good as you can. By making America good again, you might be able to survive. Yahweh bless. Over and out.